As you can tell from the opening shots, I finally went outside of my adventure bike comfort zone a little bit and made the way over to Arizona to do some desert riding. In this case, I met up with Ready to Ride Rentals and Megs Brab. Not only was this a chance to play around in some really new environment, new terrain for me, but also to try weird things like two-stroke bikes. As some of you might know, I've never actually been on a two-stroke bike. And you can tell throughout the video, throughout the riding, that I really approached some of the riding on the two-stroke a lot like trying to ride my four-stroke beta. I got a little bit better towards the third day. I finally embraced high revving riding that you apparently have to do with a two-stroke so you don't just stall out. So these first opening shots from our first day in that motor vacation is a single track day, and you can tell this very much is a different kind of riding than we have in New England. We don't really have that kind of dry, rutted out single track. We always have a lot more roots and rocks and mud, especially mud. We hardly saw any water during these days. There's on the third day, a little bit later, you'll see some water going through little canyons and overgrown creeks almost, but overall basically no water. Now, the fascinating part for me, of course, was all the cacti or cactuses and the occasional hill climb, like in this example. There were, for almost all the harder sections, there were go-rounds and some people just went around it. I skipped a few of them, but some of them I just gave a try. And this is one of those examples where you can tell that I'm still very much in my four-stroke mindset, trying to slowly lug up the mountain. The poor little 300 there is a little bit struggling, almost dying. Does get better over time, but it's just one of the side effects of never having ridden a two-stroke before. Some of the people we rode with grew up on two-strokes, so they had a much easier time working with the bikes. In various places we had these nice little downhills, rocky stuff thrown in. Not really hard, but you did have to pick your lines somewhat carefully, otherwise you'd easily end up in a ditch. When you come into the Phoenix area and look around the landscape, it doesn't really look very hilly or very challenging. It almost looks like, oh, it's all flat and just cactuses. But then when you get close up into the landscape, you'll end up with all these valleys and hill climbs. And
What's the trick for not clipping your toe on the rut? He's staring down at the rut most likely. It's way easier said than done, but you want to look to the top and pretend there's no rut. Okay. And as soon as you're looking down at the rut, that happens.
you heard Megs there, occasionally throwing in the various lessons, helping us to get over things. Always easy to listen to it and not realizing the advice she's giving. Some people, Crystal is coming up here. Some people are really good, made it almost look easy. And then, yep, that's Megs coming up. can tell I'm trying to ride the two-stroke a little bit more like a two-stroke. After finally figuring out that you actually have to give it some gas and rev it up a little bit to get some of that power. That was one of the more interesting hill climbs. I gave it a go, but really didn't make it all the way to the top. I stalled out about 2/3, 3/4 up the way, and it was actually steep enough at that point that I wasn't really able to get going again. So I carefully made my way down. And again, my downfall on this uphill was really not giving it enough gas. You can tell how I'm almost stalling out. Still trying to get a little bit higher, but alas, not this day. Maybe one day I can come back to that and make it up, but still some space left. So, wiggling my way down here. That's what happens when you try and go up a hill with the hill taller than your skill level. And at this point we finally got to the most exciting hill climb of the first day. Some people made it up, some people didn't. It took me 3 tries to make it up, and even then it wasn't quite clean though. I would argue that then was not my fault because Zach was a little bit in the way, but after we got Zach up, I was able to also complete the hill. That's Crystal there, just breezing up like nothing. To be fair, she practiced this one a year before, so she had a little bit of a preparation. Anthony giving it a go, not quite making it, and then it was me. This was the first attempt to try and get up, and once again, not really giving it enough gas. another go. You can already tell this is not gonna work. At least Bo was
You had good form. I'll turn your bike around for you on this part. You had good form, but you gotta get on that pipe more. Make it safe.
and then giving it another go. This was the third attempt, and like I said earlier, did much better this time and almost got up, and then yeah, there's sagging. So took a moment, got him out of there, and then also made it through. Well, mostly clean. Still counts. First time I did any kind of hill climb like this, so I was actually happy with getting up to the top. A little bit later in the day, almost on the way home, we had some interesting ridge lines falling down left and right, and you see a little bit ahead there, Mark taking a small tumble. Luckily he didn't go very far, and he was back at his bike before I could even stop and get to him.
You okay?
And with that, we ended the first day, getting back to our fancy Airbnb here. A little bit wiser, a little bit humbled, obviously. Two-stroke didn't help, but it was a great day, great opening for riding in Arizona. The second day we're starting here opened up with some sand canyons. Sand wasn't all that hard. It was not really soft like you would expect. It was still a little bit wiggly, wobbly, but overall easy riding. And while Bo had promised us an easy second day, there were still some rather interesting sections in there that took some finagling to get up. It wasn't anything too challenging, but still, for someone not really used to two-stroke riding, it was a bit of a challenge for me. In the end, we all made it up. And down. There were a couple of nice downhill sections too. Yeah. Riding under the dam was a bit of a weird trail, but interesting view. Nice view. Certainly a... well, interesting experience. Let's put it that way. See Bo in front of me here on the T7. The only problem here is that the T7 needs a little bit of work to get around that sharp corner at the end of the underpass walkway. The landscape opened up. You really beautiful valleys, nice view. Almost a bit distracting from the riding, so it was nice that the riding was not really technical. Basically, we did a lot of gravel roads on that day. Of course, that was what Bo had advertised, and not really surprisingly, we ended up with a couple of interesting trails after all. You'll notice that I've switched to the T7 at this point. We're always changing bikes around a little bit. This was maybe a little bit too much for me on the T7. I got up a little bit, but in the end we had to work quite a bit to get the T7 up there. Bo obviously had done this trail a whole bunch of times, so he helped out with that. You can see the blinker is hanging off on the bike already. That wasn't me, it was already broken. This was the suspension bridge that we crossed after that little uphill trail. There's a little hot spring down there where a bunch of the folks went in. I'm not a big fan of hot springs, so I did not go in there. Riding the T7 on the way back. This is something I was a little bit more used to with the size of the bike and the trail, so I had a lot of fun also taking it through the little underpass of the dam on the way back. Took some group pictures here. I added it in the opening shot. Towards the end of the day, we hit like a 1.5 track. It's a little bit wider than a single track. I think those are ATV trails with some single track sections mixed in. But this was a really enjoyable piece, especially on the T7. I don't generally like how the weight of the T7s is pretty high. And I had long discussions with Bo about that because he prefers it that way. I do prefer my 890. But nevertheless, this was really nice riding. It was very enjoyable. Through the sand and like yeah, running the bike through the sand. It was great. Nice flowy trails all the way back to the house. This is the opening of the third day, which was advertised as the most technical day. You'll remember this little ridge from the end of the first day. We came up there. Today we're going down, heading towards the Slot Canyons. lot of little optional trails to the side. Some of them I gave a try, some of them I really didn't feel like I was gonna be able to safely make it. And then we slowly descended into nice little slot canyons. Things got tighter and narrower, more rocks to the left and right, so I really didn't want to hit them. There's uphills with different degrees of success.
So this stuff, you hesitated. You had it, but then you hesitate and you fall.
Yeah, I know.
You make it, you stay on it.
A little bit of water. I didn't really see a lot of water in those 3 days. A couple of puddles left. Occasional little uphills. This is one of the more overgrown areas. They call this section Costa Rica. Overgrown, lots of trees, lots of plants. Apparently it never dries out in that creek. And that's how we get so many trees and plants. And of course we had to make our way through there. Once again, a little bit nice, fast sections thrown in. We had a lot of fun chasing each other through these canyons. And then we finally ended up in real slot canyons. Oh, I don't know. As real as it gets. These were challenging, to say the least. I pinched my finger a little bit between the rock and the handlebar there. All good, just a little bruise.
Yeah, I climbed my feet on the wall and straddled the bike up high.
Any bike, even a little bit wider than this, wouldn't have made it through there.
There you go. Adventure bike rider in his home territory.
You had to climb up on the wall here and roll the bike underneath you. Otherwise you would have not made it just with the width of your boots and the bike. Yeah. It ended up being in neutral.
Try to push it forward while you do that.
Yeah, it's like in neutral now.
Yeah, maybe it'll bump as we push it. Or you can get high enough to might need smart. There we go.
Yeah, more sections, more little crevasses to get through. this was one of the more interesting sections. You had to do a little pivot turn in the middle of a canyon. I tried to wheelie up there. Almost made it. Travis there taking some video. And then more bamboo and wood and everything in the way. It's almost a bit claustrophobic getting through there. But there's definitely a trail somewhere. Nearing the end of the canyon here. More interesting sections. This is the way we came in the beginning. Had to make our way back up again through the little puddles. You can tell I'm a lot more confident at this point with the bike than I have been before. Coming down a nice little hill climb, you see the pictures here that Meg had been taking. It's probably the steepest downhill we did on that in those 3 days.
Nice job.
With that last little downhill, we neared the end of the day. At this point we split up in 2 groups. Some of us went through this little section here, and the others took some of the track back. Almost made it.
Almost.
Made it out eventually. We come to the end of the 3rd day. After this it was a quick ride back to the house. So big shout out to everyone. On the last day we spent the time on the boat. Also a new experience for me. I didn't try any of the wakeboarding things, but that's it. And if you're in New England, in the area, save the date. June 8th and 9th we have a adventure ride for the benefit of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It's out of Loudon, New Hampshire, and I'm putting together trails. So lots of fun trails, technical, hard, and of course a couple of easy options too if you're completely new to the sport. Join us, hit me up for details, more details to follow. And with that, thank you and ride safe.